My bad. I got this in Iceland when I went with Fran. I was eyeing it the day we got there, and I got it. I had to get it. Anyways, it's not what this is about. Let's get started. All right, let's talk about it. So, Chiefs played last night uh, against the Detroit Lions, and we lost 21-20. Now, I have some thoughts on the game. Some might be a slight overreaction, and some, I'm chilling. It's week one. All right. Um, I know either right after the game or even 12 to 24 hours after the game, emotions are still a little raw, but there were some glaring issues that I saw last night. And look, maybe they'll be ironed out throughout the season. I'm sure they will, but we need to talk about them. First and foremost, can we get a receiver to catch a damn ball? How about that? Specifically, Kadarius Toney, who had 3 drops last night. Like, one of them led to a pick six, and obviously it's going to show on Mahomes' stat line that he threw a pick. Obviously, not all picks are created equal. That was right through the hands of Toney into Branch's hands, and he ran for six. And then the other one, it was on first down, and Pat threw it to Kadarius Toney. It was for a first down, and he drops it. We go on to stall in that series and punt. And then there was another one. Look, I don't fault Toney as much for this one because I can't remember if it was Richie James or Rasheed Rice that was crossing him. Like, essentially what had happened, they were going to opposite ends, but they crossed each other. Rasheed kept going, or Richie, I can't remember which one. But Toney stops in the middle of the field to catch it, but it was like right as one of the receivers was crossing him, and he drops it. I don't fault him as much for that because I think if it was maybe like a second later, the receiver kind of like right in the way of the throwing lane, then he maybe catches that. But I based off to last night, I don't know. I don't know that. So there isn't always a single player to lose a game, but look, I'm going to be harsh today because that's my team. I'm going to be critical. Toney lost us that game. They did, or he did. Um, Defense did their job. Defense, we really only gave up 14 points. The only reason it was 21 was because of that pick six, and that was on Toney, right through his hands. So I thought the defense did their job. And let's just go over some stats from the Lions real quick, particularly in the rushing game. David Montgomery, 21 carries, 74 yards, about 3.5 yards a carry. Uh, Jahmyr Gibbs, 7 carries, 42 yards, about 6 yards a carry. A total, 34 carries, 118 yards. Yeah, I mean, that's a good running game. And obviously at the end, we couldn't get a stop, and that's why we ended up losing the game. Clock just ran out. We got a first down, and that was that. Um, but at the end of the day, to me, like I had said, defense only gave up 14 points. Defense did their job. The offense didn't show up. That's what it was. We had a lack of a running game. I'm looking at the stats here. Most rushing came from Mahomes on his scrambling. He had 6 scrambles for 45 yards. Pacheco had only 8 carries for 23 yards. He had a burst here and there, but for the most part, our running game was bottled up. Clyde Edwards-Helaire got more touches than actually I was expecting, to be honest with you. And I thought he had some moments where he looked good. I'll be honest. But yeah, only a total of 90 yards rushing. Half of those come from Mahomes. McKinnon didn't even get a carry. I mean, typically he's not a guy that you're gonna have running the ball in a sense like a traditional running back. You'll probably pitch it to him in the backfield and then he goes and does his thing, or a quick little dink pass or a screen pass, and then that's usually where he does his damage. But we didn't really get that from him today. He had 2 targets, dropped one, and that was on a third down too. Literally, Mahomes was wrapped, or someone was like wrapping around his ankle, and he was literally falling, and he threw it to McKinnon, and he drops it. Now I know it wasn't the easiest catch, but it was definitely a catchable pass, and so yeah, like it's just little things like that um, that made the offense stall. It was clear that we missed Travis Kelce tonight or last night, um, because there wasn't that safety blanket. You know, it it was clear the offense runs through Kelce. It does, because you think of scenarios like that, and there was a stat where I think it was Kelce on third down is like 14-15% more efficient or more likely to get the ball and converts first downs or something like that. It was a stat line like that, because I mean, he's the go-to guy. He is always going to get open. It doesn't matter if you have a linebacker on him, a corner, it doesn't matter who you have on him. He will get open. It doesn't matter if you have one guy, two guys. At the end of the day, he's a guy that will get open. That's just, that's his MO. And so we didn't have that out there last night. Noah Gray, let's just check out his stats real quick. 3 receptions for 31 yards. He had that one where I think his longest, yeah, it was 24 yards. So 24 of his 31 yards came on one play. But again, it was a great little flash where he broke a tackle and then went on for 24 yards. Like, nice, okay, but that was it. You know, you usually get a couple of those from Kelce. Now, Kelce isn't necessarily, running guys down and, shedding tackles. He's more, finesse. He just gets open, finds a lane, and goes, right? Noah Gray obviously isn't that. But, he did what he could last night. But again, it's like, could guys not get open? Seriously. Obviously they have CJ Gardner Johnson back there who was talking shit all game. Oh my God, he was pissing me off. He was with the Eagles last year, obviously, and he was in the Super Bowl that they lost to us. Just wanted to say that, just in case you forgot. Um, but I just the only flash that I saw last night was towards the end of the first half when Mahomes just went crazy. He did that one completion. Justin Watson, I felt like, was the only guy that showed up last night from the wide receivers, in my opinion. He did. Marquez, he had that one catch, which I honestly, for a second, I'm like, oh my gosh, was that a pick? But Marquez beat the guy to the spot, first down, obviously, and then we go on to get a touchdown there. Um, but yeah, that was really the only flash I saw where it looked like our offense was able to move. And then obviously in the second half we stall and we only get 2 field goals. At one point obviously we're up 20-14, and I felt good because the defense was doing their thing. But man, there were moments where you obviously saw where Chris Jones would have helped a lot. I felt like they definitely wouldn't have had as many yards as they had in the run game if Chris Jones was there. But if that were the case, that was probably their game plan, right? They're like, all right, Chris Jones isn't there, we're going to run the ball a little bit more. So obviously you wonder if Chris Jones was there, they probably would have done more passes. And, they were eating us up a little bit in the passing game. Amon-Ra St. Brown, who full disclosure, I have in fantasy, got me 19 points. So I'm happy about that. But look, at the end of the day, the Lions game plan for who was there and who wasn't there. And you saw that in the offense, obviously, and you saw that in the defense. They ran I think they were saying in the broadcast like 23 different types of defensive formations. Like they were throwing everything at us. Hutchinson was relentless. He was going at. Okay, let me address the whole uh, Jawan Taylor essentially false starting every single snap of the game. Apparently, that's a thing that a lot of offensive linemen do, just like a hair of a second, like before, or like the way they line up, because he was essentially, and I can't remember who said it. I think they said it in the broadcast. Chris Collinsworth. They had some expert. I forgot who was chiming in, but he essentially said, "Look, the lineman, as long as his like helmet is like aligned with the line or something like that, then it's valid." So that's why Jawan Taylor was obviously standing the way that he was in his stance against Hutchinson, uh, because that guy's an animal. And so, look, in my opinion, everyone's saying, "Oh, the refs swallow their whistle. They're on the Chiefs side." If they're on the Chiefs side, we have the ball, like 3 4 minutes left. Or actually, no, it was less than that. It was like 2.5 3 minutes left, and that's when the whistles start to come. Look, you're calling nothing up until that point when it comes to the false starts. But at the end, that's when you call the false start. We get pushed back, and 3rd and 20 or 3rd and 25, then incompletion, go for it on 4th down. But to me, it was frustrating because you're seeing the approach of what the Chiefs want to do in terms of low risk, high reward, especially when it comes to the wide receiver core. Look, Justin Ross is an experiment. Um, Richie James, we picked up from the Giants, not a big name. Rashee Rice, a rookie. Marquez, who's really the only vet if you think about it. And look, he's not a top tier wide receiver, and that's no shade towards Marquez, but it's true, right? Um, Tony, obviously another castaway from the Giants, who should look. I don't want to take away of how big he was in the Super Bowl for us, but look, I got to look past that. We're talking about week 1 of the NFL 2023-2024 season. So I got to call it like I see it. He blew the game last night for us. Justin Watson, I thought he played well. Again, just kind of to look at his stats real quick. He had 4 targets, 2 receptions for 45 yards. Obviously that one big play was huge in the first half. But again, it's clear to me that Kelce is, and I knew this already, of course, but he is so vital to our offense. Aside from last night, and there was 2 other instances where Kelce didn't play, and that was when he got COVID, and so that was one game that he was out like a couple seasons ago, and then literally Mahomes' first game in the NFL was Week 17 against the Broncos. And again, that was when Alex Smith was the starter still, and all of the starters sat out because we had already made the playoffs. Our fate was already made, and so they were like, "Yeah, let's get Mahomes out there." So that was why Travis didn't play in that game. But this is his first game missed due to injury, where Mahomes hasn't had him. So, and only the second career game that Mahomes has played as a starter where Kelce was not in that lineup. So you saw it. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the Chiefs try to do going forward. Chris Jones was in attendance last night, which I thought was pretty bold. I'm like, why you have some damn nerve? But, it is what it is. He will hopefully get a deal. I hope so, because at the end of the day, we do need him. We're going up against Jacksonville in 10 days, and they have a great run game as well with Travis Etienne. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence is a far better quarterback than Jared Goff, a mobile quarterback as well, so he can definitely run the ball. Man, and they got Calvin Ridley now on their team, and yeah, that'll be a challenge. I think I'm pretty confident Kelce will be back. Again, he could have gone tonight, but it was precautionary to sit him out and I think it was a good move at the end of the day that he did sit out. Um, but yeah, so like a slight overreaction, but at the end of the day, I have to temper my reactions just because look, it's week one, 0-1. It's all right. We still have 16 games left. Chris Jones wasn't there. Um, Travis Kelce wasn't there. It was a very off night for our wide receivers. Mahomes did all that he could. There was a couple plays where he overthrew a guy here and there. There's probably like 2 or 3 throws that I felt like that, but the rest, anything that was incomplete was a drop. And that's on the wide receivers. Uh, Again, defense in my eyes only gave up 14 points. Because of that pick six. That was the reason why they got 21, obviously. And so, yeah. Anyways, that's all I really got to say. But I'll be back to our regularly scheduled programming next week. We're actually going to be having. I keep saying we as if there's more than me. I am going to be having a special guest next week. But you guys will see. It's going to be a fun podcast and a lot of back and forth. I'm really excited for you all to watch. So stay tuned to that. And I will see you guys then. Peace.